Hi there, my name is Amy Lillard, and I am the Executive Director of both WhipSmart and Washington FilmWorks. I'm here today with my WhipSmart hat on to do a lovely little interview for our June newsletter. Um, we have been very encouraged by Washington State's interest in better supporting the creative economy. And I'm delighted today to introduce you to someone new at the Department of Commerce who is dedicated to supporting the creative economy. So with that, I'm very happy to introduce Shannon Halberstadt, who is the new sector lead for the creative industries at the Department of Commerce. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, Amy. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, we're delighted to have you. We're so glad to have you at Commerce, but I would love to start just by, for folks that don't know you, tell us a little bit about you and your background of working with the creative industries.
So I've been working in the creative industries for a very long time and in several different areas of the creative industries. Most recently, I've had the pleasure of serving on the WhipSmart board, which has been an incredible opportunity, and also serving on the board of Inspire Washington. My work around the state of Washington includes work in the music industry with the Old Firehouse in Redmond and the Vera Project in Seattle, working with young people and music and popular arts. And I also have worked with the Grammys as the director of the Pacific Northwest chapter. I've worked in Spokane and had a really great time working for Spokane Arts there, heading up their efforts to further the arts scene in Spokane across all the different disciplines and really interacting with government and public and artists and organizations and creative businesses. I also served as the executive director for Artist Trust for about 6 years, working with creative professionals around the state of Washington, artists of all disciplines, providing professional development resources and cash grants to help them build thriving careers. And recently I worked on a COVID-19 relief effort, Keep Music Live Washington, helping small independent music venues in Washington state weather the effects of COVID-19, which has been really tough on any presenting organizations or venues or businesses. So yeah, that's kind of where I come from. And so being here at the Department of Commerce in this brand new key sector for Washington State, the creative economy, is really exciting because I've had this like feet on the ground experience for so many years, and I really understand the sector and the players in the sector and the needs of the sector. And so it's very exciting to think about how we can match those needs with opportunities.
I think you bring such a unique skill set because you've worked in the arts and culture sector, as you're saying, and all of the economic impact there. And then, you've also worked for the for-profit side as well. So, we are all part of the creative economy together. And it's very poetic that you are the WhipSmart board, which focuses on the for-profit sector, and the Inspire Washington, which is arts and culture. So what a great, incredible perspective you bring to the sector lead position. Can we just start though by can you tell us what the heck a sector lead is and what it does at the Department of Commerce?
Yes, absolutely. So the governor has created key sectors in Washington state, and these key sectors are areas of great potential for growth. Things like aerospace or life sciences, information technology. And the governor created a brand new sector, the creative economy, really recognizing the impact of the creative economy in Washington state and that potential for growth. So the sector leads are the people who coordinate the growth of the sector and really focus on the growth of the sector. So I work with the governor. I work with industry leaders and with elected officials, and really create those public and private partnerships and also policy that's going to lead to growth in the sector. So more jobs for creative workers, more income for creative businesses, and more opportunity just for the sector as a whole.
So it's interesting, as I said, as we started our conversation, we have been very encouraged by the increased time, energy, and effort the state is spending thinking about working with the creative sector, the creative economy. Why do you think it's important that Washington, invest in the creative economy and spend time developing policies that work for it?
Well, the first piece is to say that the creative economy is really large in Washington State. In a study that the U.S. Department of Commerce put out, it showed that the creative economy makes up 10.3 something percent of our state's GDP, which is big. And it's the largest percent of a GDP of any creative economy nationwide. So we're doing well.
That's an
Um,
incredible stat. Say that stat again.
it's between 10.3 and 10.4% of our state's GDP comes from the creative economy. So it is a vital force right now. It's also a force that really reflects the culture in our state and builds the culture in our state. When you think about film or music or design, it really shows the incredible ideas that come out of Washington State. So it is already a sector that is doing very well without the investment. And with this added investment, there's so much opportunity to do even better and to put more creative people to work and build more creative businesses.
I love the way that sounds. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, as we have discussed on many occasions, the creative economy is made up of what the state calls non-traditional workers. We call them gig workers, we call them, sole proprietors, things like that. So it's not your typical workforce. And so if it's not your typical business model, how do you think commerce can approach, working with that sector, because it is so big, as you just said, and we're not your traditional workforce? What does that look like, do you think?
Well, I think that the first part is really understanding what is the creative economy workforce. Back in 2020, the Department of Commerce did a study about gig workers. And a big portion of that study was about creative economy workers, creative workers. And so through that, they already learned, that the creative economy operates a little bit differently. We're also launching into a study that's going to last, over a year, where we're really digging into the definition of the creative economy. Who is it made up of? What businesses are here? What workers are here? What are some of the opportunities that we have to look at policy or partnerships that are going to help those creative workers? And so through that study, we'll better understand the creative workers, how they fit into the systems that are already there and how they don't, and how we can perhaps make systems change to better serve these workers.
I mean, it's such, you're walking into so much opportunity, right? As you step into this role. I mean, have you even you've been there, what, less than a month so far?
Yes, less than a month.
So we'll just say, like, in the short term, the next 6 months, then next year, you're going to, think about that creative economy study that the Department of Commerce is leading. What else, like, what does the next 6 to 12 months look like for you?
Well, I would say that, a big effort right now is helping the parts of the creative economy that need help standing back up after the pandemic. So we have a Working Washington 5 grant that is going to open very soon in the coming weeks. $45 million of that is allocated to creative workers in arts, in science, and in heritage. So creative workers and creative businesses. And we're looking at folks who have suffered loss during the pandemic, which a lot of creative businesses have. So making sure that we get these funding opportunities out the door. There's also currently a funding opportunity that's open for festivals. There will be one that's open soon for folks who run conventions. And so looking at standing the industry back up. Also, the study is a really big focus because it helps us to better understand and define the sector. It gives us all a common language too. If we have a common definition of the sector, we're able to speak about it very clearly. We're the first state in the nation to do a statewide study like this and strategic plan like this. So we really have a leadership opportunity to be a model nationally for really creating strategy and definition around the creative economy. So that's very important to me in the next 3 to 6 months, is focusing in on that and making sure that we have a really great, smart work group of people from across the state who have different roles in the creative economy. And lastly, I would say really doing an analysis, looking out into the creative community, what is going well, where are there opportunities for growth, and how can we pull together partnerships and resources to stimulate that growth. So,
am I remembering correctly, the Creative Economy Work Group report that comes out is intended to inform how commerce invests money and what policies to support too, is that right?
that's correct. Yes.
So,
Yeah, and really looking at a longer term strategic plan. And, it gives us an opportunity with having all these different types of stakeholders coming together, creating this strategy. It gives us an opportunity to look at our further advocacy for the sector as a collective group. So you referred earlier in our conversation to kind of bridging the divide that often happens between the nonprofit arts world and the commercial world of creativity. And so having those groups of people come together to create this strategy gives us an opportunity for a collective advocacy and a collective voice together, and just a stronger presence in the state.
I am so excited, Shannon, that you have joined the team at Commerce. And I know just, having worked with you on the WhipSmart board and in previous iterations here in Washington State, I just, I think that the future looks bright, and I'm really excited that you're, looking into the future of what the creative economy looks like in Washington. So thank you for being here. I also want to mention that WhipSmart led an effort early in the pandemic, way back in March of 2020, where we did something called the Creative Industries Recovery Task Force. And we asked the community in our 27 focus groups from around the state what we really needed. The creative economy sector lead was something that came out of that conversation. And I just want to say that people like Shannon, people like WhipSmart, we are listening to you and acting on what you need. And so participate, be part of this process, because there's so many possibilities happening because of investments at Commerce, things like WhipSmart and Inspire Washington. There's so many people working on your behalf. So show up, get your voice heard, be part of this process, because there's lots of possibilities possible. So Shannon, thanks again for being here. We appreciate it so much.
Thanks, Amy.